Nuevo.
Yes, hello. Oh, yes.
Oh, yes. Highlight of the marathon coming up.
Are we ready to go?
You've got thumbs up, so I think you're right.
Okay. So, hello, my name is Bensagram. Here's Pool, and here's Natty.
Oh.
And I'm gonna be playing as the rat, the Kong.
Who's doing the button? Are you doing it?
Wait, what?
The button.
I'm doing it.
Okay.
And he wake up. Oh, thank you, Jesse. Jesse.
Base Jazzy.
Yes.
Yeah.
So we're gonna enter Crash Ball first because this is a marathon one. Usually we would enter Polar Panic first because that's where all the resets happen.
Or do you want to switch for these? Or?
Oh yeah, we're gonna switch controllers here. So I'm player 2 now because I'm gonna play the side. The sides are a bit harder to play because the perspective and the goal is actually larger on the side. And I think he moves slower. I don't even know.
You do move slower, and the whole like area you're playing in is smaller. So it's like weird compensation, but it doesn't feel the same at all. So.
Unfortunate.
So, like, the basic goal with ballistic levels in speedruns is to try and even out how much each AI, well, how many points each AI has. So obviously, each time they let a ball in, they lose a point, and optimally, you don't want one AI to just tank all the balls and then you're left with a goal that's sort of closed off. So Cortex has taken a lot more than Crash. So they want to sort of balance it out by targeting Crash a bit more. Because now, once Cortex is dead, any balls that go that side will now just bounce off his closed goal. So ultimately, you want to try and even out your shots, and obviously don't take any shots yourself, because then that's more balls that have just gone to waste.
Yeah, Crash Ball is a weird minigame where it's like the only fun thing of one, so you're suddenly focused immediately on it and forget to comment it every single time.
Yeah.
But that's why we have Natty here.
This is usually you do a Crash Bash race, you play Crash Ball, and then you don't have fun for 2 hours.
The games are, for anybody who somehow doesn't know by now, it's a mini-game collection game, so it's not gonna all be Pong, Pong the next level that we're playing here. So Natty can probably explain more about that, I guess, while I do nothing.
What, just Crash Bash
what am I
is?
playing here? What are we doing?
Yeah, so Crash Bash as a video game
Very interesting.
was the first Crash game that wasn't developed by Naughty Dog on PlayStation, so the quality sort of fell to the floor.
What do you mean?
But
This game is quality assurance. What do you mean?
yeah, effectively the entire game, like every level, is just mini games. But there are 3 in a speedrun, like an 80% speedrun. There's 3 variations of each mini game. But there are also a couple of relic challenges for full completion. So what these guys need to do, they need to beat every single minigame and get a trophy. And then they're going to start selecting the quickest minigames because they need to get gems and they need to do crystals. Now the gem and crystal challenges are harder than the regular trophies. Gem challenges evolve around you starting off with a point or time handicap, so you might have less points than your opponent, or you have a limited amount of time to win. And then crystal challenges are a bit more, what's the word? Unique, I guess. So every single mini game has its own unique crystal challenge.
Is Sibang here? I heard Sibang. Holy. Hi, Sibang.
Holy moly, we need a camera zoom.
There's one trick in this stage you can do. There's those, when the balls come out or when they spawn in, you can hit them on the one frame. There's one cool trick. You can make this challenge go faster.
You can also get them saved from the back of your card if you don't
yeah.
think. There's a lot of like dumb, not even dumb, there's more like things that you can use to make the game less painful for you. They don't necessarily save any time, but they're more like just general use threats you can do. Also, those ones were pretty good. I don't know. Yeah, it's just
Hello, Sibang.
4. Sibang.
What up? I haven't seen Sibang in a year. So now we just skip all of the rest of the Crash Ball challenges because they're really slow to do.
Yeah. So the routing is based around doing the quickest challenges, and the polar levels we're up to play are probably the quickest out of them all. Well, not even probably, they are. So. Also worth mentioning are probably AI differences. Natty, please explain.
Yeah, so these guys are playing as Tiny and Kong. They sort of have, well, I think they have identical stats, actually. But basically, there are 4 characters who are classed as good and 4 characters who are classed as evil. And there's there's 2 versions of each character type. So Kong's evil and Tiny's good in this game, but they have identical stats. So they're, over the course of a speed run, they're pretty much the optimal character for enough challenges that they're the quickest pick for a speed run. So you'll notice on this challenge in particular, Kong has a very strong push and Tiny have very strong pushes. So polar levels are a lot more easier. They also have a higher weight stat, so they're heavier than sort of opponents like Crash and Cortex. This does mean they move slower, but movement speed isn't too big of a factor on some of these challenges.
I think they do all have the same movement speeds, though. I'm not sure.
I think Crash and Cortex, I think, move a little quicker.
Probably.
At least they're a bit more easier to control.
Yeah, Cortex.
But the weight stat's also really important because at the beginning, Ben's playing as Kong. He's going to knock
The
these.
rat.
Yes, the rat. He's going to knock the icicles off. And because he's also playing as a heavy character, those icicles just knock off by him walking into them. Whereas if he was playing as a lighter character, you'd have to actually do a push. So if you look at the bars at the top, every time a character does a push, they deplete their bar. You'll notice Cortex in particular, whenever he does a push, he uses his entire bar to do it. And a lot of the strategy in these mini games is counter pushing AI when they can't fight you back. And so Cortex can immediately just use his entire push in one go, and then he can't fight you back. So he's quite easy to knock off. He's usually, you don't have to worry about knocking him off, whereas some characters like Crash, they fight back a lot more because they use less of their bar when they attack you.
Also, as mentioned with previous nuance in every game, something really unlucky happened there, but the legs actually cuts all your momentum, so you gotta keep track of like everything that's happening on the screen.
Yes.
Wow.
So this is the crystal challenge, first crystal challenge they're doing. So the gimmick here is that the lightning coming from the satellite that's floating about can immediately stun whoever it hits. If you get stunned, the AI will immediately try and knock you off, because the AI see you and think, oh, you're an easy target, so I'm going to knock you off. So that's the shorter challenge there, but it's quite an easy challenge, especially as the second level in the game, because the AI don't start fighting back until later levels, so it's actually quite easy to just push them off. So now we've got
time for donations.
Yeah, there's about five minutes worth of auto scrollers, but you know, for anyone who's never seen this game before, this is basically a timed mission where each round is 1 minute 30, and these guys have to paint squares, and then they hit a box and they get points based on how many squares they've painted of their color. So this one's not too taxing. They don't really need to work together. They can shoot each other with missiles the entire time and probably still win by 100 points. You'll notice that even not really trying very much, they've already got a lot more points than the AI. So this is, in the speedrun, this is a little boring when you do it a lot, because it's just so easy. It's usually a good time if you forgot to get a drink to go and get one, which is what I've done a few times.
Optimally, you would want to avoid all the missiles because they make the game lag.
Yes.
Even on a PS2 90K, which we're playing on right now.
Yeah, so these guys are playing on the PS2 to make use of fast disk speed. And notably, they're playing on a 90K version of a PS2. So 90Ks are sort of the last version of the PS2 that was commercially available. It's the last model they sold until they sort of moved on to PS3. And for a game like this, the hardware is better than sort of the older versions of PS2s, so the game doesn't lag so much. Because even though it's a PS1 title, the game still lags a lot even if you have it on a PS2. So these sort of challenges, even though they're very easy, ideally they want to get enough points to win as soon as possible, and then they can just stand still and not get hit by missiles just to reduce the lag. It's not a huge time loss. It's only 1 or 2 seconds at most, maybe even more if you get a really good round and you can just sit there for 30 seconds or something. But yeah, effectively it's just reducing the amount of lag and amount of missiles, amount of movement on the screen so that you can save a bit of time there.
There's a lot more game sense when you play 200% instead, and the AI actually like starts cheating
Yes.
through knowing where the crates are gonna be.
Yeah, so the AI are quite easy on this one. They avoid crates actively. They don't really go for the shoe power-up. So you notice Bensa playing as Kong is getting these shoes, which make you move a bit quicker. Obviously, the quicker you move, the more squares you paint and the more points you get. So the AI don't really go for those. Like Cortex literally just went up to them and then moved away. So they sort of accidentally land on things that they need to win. So that's why this one's really easy. When you start getting to later challenges, they take really annoying routes where they just know where boxes spawn. Shoes just so happen to land on them a lot of the time, or they seem to always be a slightly ahead of you whenever they're going for something. Like they just know they're going to get a box or a power-up, so they pretty much beat you to them every time.
Yeah, it becomes like a spacing game based around
Yeah.
luck, but
And also, Rillaru, he has 1 frame faster animation every single jump.
Yeah.
So in the plat challenges, you'll always face against Rillaru unless you're playing as him.
Yeah. Because one thing to note in this minigame is all the characters are supposed to be the same, but for whatever reason, Rilla has a different animation when he jumps from square to square, which is shorter than everyone else's. And yeah, when you get onto Platinum Relics, which are the hardest challenges in the game, pretty much you're against an AI that's flat out cheating, as well as just knowing where things spawn anyway, so it becomes really difficult trying to balance that.
despite this being an auto-scroller, it's gonna become a non-auto-scroller in the next challenge we do. Whoa.
Yes, so the trophies, crystals, and platinum relics are all auto-scrollers, or gold relics as well. So they're all auto-scrollers, but the gem is a points-based challenge where you need to reduce your points to 0 before the AI do, and also before time runs out. But as soon as you do that, the round immediately ends. So there is some actual sort of communication between these guys to make sure that they can even them out as many points as they can, because at the moment they're not really communicating on which boxes they're going for, which shoes they're going for, because it doesn't really matter. But especially later on in the harder challenges, these guys are going to try and work out who should be picking up the boxes. If there's 2 boxes and one of them's near each one, they can sort of target boxes so that they both get them instead of both going for the same box, things like that. Yeah, pretty much almost beat both AIs with just 1 person's score on that one.
In case anybody's wondering about the count up there of score, it doesn't actually matter how much you get. It'll end at the same time regardless.
Yeah.
And so here we go, non-auto-scroller version of the same challenge. We're gonna take down points from a set amount of points, but the AI has less, and we have less time to do it.
Yeah. It's also worth noting that because this is a co-op run, these guys share the amount of points they have to get. So, like before they added each points together, this one they actually share the same amount of points that they need to reduce. So there's a team effort, and obviously the AI have the same advantage. You notice the AI had I think it's 60-point advantage as well, so they had 60 less points before they reached 0, which is why this is classed as a challenge. You also do have less time to do this, so if you get really unlucky, you can time the challenge out. If you time the challenge out and you didn't reach 0, you just lose the challenge. It's not a case of, oh, you had less points than the AI, you did better, or whatever. It doesn't matter, you just lose because you didn't effectively meet the win condition. But even though this is only the 3rd level in, it's very easy to lose that challenge if you get... Because the AI... The difficulty increases on this challenge, and they actually think a bit more. So they can sort of a mix of accidentally hitting the right boxes, and they can just snowball so hard that it's near impossible to actually win that challenge on some cases.
Yeah, these are the best challenges in the game.
Yeah, so...
Dude, we held a tournament of these. That's how good they are.
So you can actually have fun on these levels. So pretty much, again, this is why Kong and Tiny are superior for a speedrun. Cortex is actually a better character for this because he shoots boxes further and he shoots them lower. But Kong and Tiny can both pick up boxes really quickly, and they can throw boxes further than all the other AIs, bar Cortex and Embryo. So they're really good for these challenges. The only downside they have is if an AI is too close to them, they can throw the box over their head. But to counteract this, there's a technique which I don't think has a name, but pretty much if you throw a box and then you immediately do like a half circle movement, or just spin your analog.
Curved throws, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah, so if you sort of spin the analog, the box sort of throws later out of your hand, and it can actually hit an AI that's a little closer to you than it's meant to. So there is a little tech to try and hit AIs who are close. And it's sort of by the box sort of throws lower because you've used some of the throwing animation to do a spin instead.
Yeah, the reason you need it is because Tiny's and Kong's hands out to the side, so you can't hit anybody near,
Yes.
like immediately next to you.
Yeah, the boxes don't throw out like immediately from in front of them. They throw out at an angle. So that was a really quick trophy challenge. Again, the gem on this challenge, you have 30 seconds to win. It's worth noting they stone crates do sort of some damage, but TNTs do a bit more damage than regular crates. So it's really important to try and hit the AI with those instead of just regular stone crates. Obviously, the more damage you deal, the quicker the challenge goes. There's also a small tech you can do where if you do a melee attack on an AI, so you can do a melee attack by hitting square, and it does the least amount of damage in the entire game is just the melee attack. But if someone gets hit by a melee attack, they can also get hit by a crate while they have iframes. The iframes only protect them from another melee attack, so you can actually work together on that where you can stun an AI so the other one can hit them, or just you can stun an AI and hit them immediately with a crate yourself.
Yeah, we did it a couple times earlier. It's like a combo thing you can do. It's especially using co-op, but you can also do it here like this. That's actually two hits sometimes, but...
Yes, because if you kick an AI who has a box, they can sometimes just drop the box, and you can also get a melee hit on them. The melee hit combo only works if you do a melee first. You can't hit someone with a crate and then kick them. It doesn't work that way around, so you have to do the melee hit first. The gimmick in that challenge was the Tikimon throws nitros randomly at the players. He throws one nitro at a time. That can be a really annoying challenge if you get unlucky with box spawns and you get picked on by the AI, because you can just pretty much just take damage and you can't actually take a break because of the amount of stuff on screen. So now we're on to the first boss. So there are 4 hubs, and at the end of each hub there is a boss fight. So these guys, the gimmick of this boss fight is that a little fake crashes spawn at the edge of the screen. So Paul's going to stick to the right hand, Ben's is going to stick to the left hand side of the screen, and as soon as these guys spawn, they're just going to kick them. They only have 1 health. Doesn't matter how they take damage, they'll just die immediately. And then obviously once all the crashes have been killed, they can attack Papu in the middle because his barrier drops. If you're doing this on single player, you'd sort of stick to one side, and then you will kick a crash and then throw a crate at the one on the other side of the screen. But because there's 2 players, they can just make use of the fact that they can just target them that way.
Actually, really good pace. We're on world record pace.
Yeah. Oh, damn.
Oh, wow.
They're good rounds.
Too bad we're going to lose all of our time here.
Well, I guess I need to do
Yes.
them.
So we're into another ballistics level. Just to note, when they exited and entered another hub world, if you mash buttons when entering a hub from another hub, you can just soft lock the game and get stuck in position. So if you're playing this game, don't mash between hub worlds unless you actively want to pretend like you accidentally did it and forfeit from a race, which people do.
Shout out.
So yeah, another ballistics level again, same premise as before, but now we're getting onto hub 2. We're just taking the same levels, but we're throwing in some more gimmicks. So the gimmick on this level is the balls move really slowly on their own, but if these guys hold X, they can get like a magnet which sticks balls to their cart, and then they can release the balls at high speed. So with sort of some of the tech in this level, you can deflect the balls when they've got high speed, and basically they will keep speed a certain amount of time. So you can actually kick a ball once when it's been shot by a magnet, and it will keep its speed. It can also bounce off your cart, and it will also keep its speed that way. So you don't always have to use magnets to shoot balls fast. Obviously, you want them to go faster because there's more chance that they'll score, and obviously you want the minigame to move as fast as possible, so you want to get the balls in goals as quick as possible. But some of the tech, you don't have to magnet every single ball. Sometimes it's just quicker to deflect them. The AI can be really annoying, so you can start losing a lot of time here. Pretty much, as Crash has shown, he just holds his magnet and then he just starts collecting balls freely. Sometimes they can just collect 4 or 5 at a time, and then they won't release them. If you hold balls too long with a magnet, they'll just naturally fall off your cart, and then they move really slowly. So we want to avoid the AI sort of just hugging balls and then just releasing them incredibly slowly into the playfield. There's some patterns that sort of Bensa can at least learn to react to Bensa being on the side on this challenge. If, say, Crash shoots balls where he has 2 on his cart, the only way that Pool can deflect both of them is to sit in the middle and do a kick. That will send one of the balls towards Bensa's goal. So sometimes it's easy for, as a co-op partner, to expect what sort of pattern you're going to get and be able to react to it.
Also, because this game's like old, you don't really have full 360 range on the ball kicks or where they land on your cart, which makes aiming a lot easier in this game.
Yeah, this can pretty much... This challenge can make or break single-player speedruns, but because co-op is a lot more optimized, because it's a naturally easier category, the world record gets an insanely lucky beach ball, which is not the only factor it's world record, but it's one of the big factors is that it just got really lucky on this challenge, and it set itself up for a huge lead on sort of the average run. So that's why getting a good beach ball you can pretty much just lose a run, and you didn't necessarily do anything wrong. You just got really unlucky with the ball spawns and the way the AI acted. Because if you haven't guessed, this speed run is completely RNG. Obviously, there is skill to it, but there's a lot of RNG elements that do just fall outside of the player's control. Fortunately, the AI aren't really smart on this challenge, so the challenge itself isn't difficult to win. Some of the later ballistics levels for sort of casual players get a lot more difficult. This one, the AI is still sort of finding their feet, and they're still very bad at protecting their goals.
Yeah, there's the back catch.
Yeah.
From Bensa's side. Maybe we switch controllers for these because Bensa's more used to P3 side. In case somebody was wondering about the whole swap thing.
Yes. Yeah, we did mention before, Bensa feels more confident in ballistic levels, so the better player being on the side means that they can sort of even out the skills so that they can play better sort of as a whole instead of sort of Pool being on the side, where it's harder to play, because as mentioned before, the goal on the side is bigger, and it's also harder to deflect balls from the side. This game isn't very good for like a versus party game, that's for sure. It's a lot easier to just play player 1 on those levels.
Yeah, player 3 is like the best place to play.
Yeah. So the order of the levels are the same until we start introducing new level types. So once we've done a ballistics level, that's always the first level in each hub, and then we're going to go into a polar level again. So this is the second polar level of the run. This one, we've got rid of the child barriers on the side, so now it's a lot easier to knock AI off, but it's also a lot easier to fall off yourself. The AI aren't too smart in this. They'll start fighting back, but you can still get a lot of easy hits. So you don't need to worry too much about playing passively, trying to bait AI towards the edge. Sometimes you can just go for them, and then they won't fight back. So if they hit an AI when, like Crash there, he had a full boost meter, he could have fought back, but he just chose not to and fell off instead.
Yeah, you can kind of react to them not reacting to you, and that means they're not going to do anything at all. So with these challenges, it's really important that these guys knock AI off with enough speed so that the AI just falls straight off the edge. Because if you don't knock someone off with enough speed, they will hit the edge and then they will be able to recover. So they sort of do an animation where they're falling off the edge, but then they can recover and get back into play.
when they're on the edge, their boost meter doesn't refill, so you can sort of gang up on them and just counter push them as soon as they recover. But realistically, the fastest way to do it is just knock them straight off, and they don't recover at all. Because they will start recovering in these harder challenges.
Move on. Okay.
So that was, yeah, that was, unfortunately, that was really unlucky for Bence there. Sometimes you can just, there's a mess of things going on, and somehow you just fall off.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, Paul has to deal with a 2v1 there, so took the realistic approach to just fall off. The AI are a bit heavier in these challenges, so when the game starts getting the challenges, making them harder, instead of just making the AI smarter, they just make them heavier so that they're harder to push off as well. So that was a really lucky push off there. Only 4 seconds for that challenge, so evening out the loss a little bit, but obviously still losing time overall. But now we're going to get to one of the more difficult polar challenges in the run. Because this one, you can just lose a lot of time. Even if you don't lose the challenge, it can be really difficult to push AI off. Because the developers thought, okay, let's make this challenge hard by just notching everyone's weight stat up to maximum so that they're impossible to knock off. So I'm surprised Cortex fell off actually on that one. Actually, he didn't have a meter, so he was actually able to push him hard enough. But Crash is going to be a bit of a pain to knock off because he's heavier. So they went for the power-up on that one. There are power-ups in these minigames. The most powerful one is the lightning bolt. So how they work is the satellite will randomly zap, and the person who stands under the satellite will get a power-up, or they can be made smaller or bigger. Obviously, if they're smaller, they're quicker but lighter. Bigger, they're heavier but slower. So it's a bit of a risk-reward, but they got a lightning bolt from the power-up on that challenge. If you hold the lightning bolt and you're the person who has it when the timer runs out, so you've got 8 seconds, I believe, once you pick up a
Well, it's 18 game seconds, what that means.
Yeah, 18 game seconds. It stuns all of your opponents, and then being a co-operant, that means it stuns Crash and Cortex if Pull and Bensa win it, and then obviously vice versa if the AI get it. For a co-op challenge especially, it's really important to get those stuns on sort of the harder challenges, because then you can just knock the AI off a lot easier. Because they won't fight back and they'll fall off immediately.
Also in practice, the whole like shrinking and enlarging and grade thing are very much useless. You want to let like the AI get all the items instead of you.
Yeah,
Also,
sometimes just when AIs get made larger, they're just really difficult and really annoying to knock off. So you just sort of have to not get pushed off by them. They won't really push you off, they'll just be really annoying. But when they get shrunk, the AI will just move incredibly fast, and for some reason they just don't fall off very easily, so they can just avoid you really, really well. I haven't really said much about this challenge. Effectively, the scoring on this challenge is based on making squares. So there are colored corners.
It's an actual square.
Yeah.
You're supposed to do this kind of thing. Okay, never mind.
So
But it's a lot harder than the corners.
yeah. So each corner has a color. If you use the corner to make a square, then you can. I don't know what you're trying to do.
I can't actually do it.
Yeah, so each corner is their color, so they can make squares from that color. So it's really easy if they just stick in their own corner, which they're both going to do here, where they can just
So that's
make
how they
corners of 4. So Benson's got shoes as well, so he's just going to keep racking up points. So the AI aren't very good on this challenge because they just don't really understand how to make squares. So they just sort of bounce about a bit, and I think they're just programmed to sort of hit arrows every now and then and maybe get lucky, but they're not very good in this challenge. So it's a lot easier to win as the other players. It's probably easier than Pogo Painter. You can get extremely lucky. It doesn't happen very often, but sometimes the AI can just somehow rack up points, and you just have to watch them and go. The way they do it, it's so perfect, but it's very rare that it happens on this challenge, especially. Oh no, I'm gonna run it.
Also about this game, I can see a lot of people talking about it's heavily RNG based. I guess it is, but there's not that much RNG that you might think of. Like, there's a lot of skill to this game. It's mostly just experience, it comes down to it. Like, you have to know all the scenarios, and know how the AI works. Because you can just predict what they're gonna do next if you've played the game enough, and then you just know what they're going to do.
It's only a few challenges that are super hard RNG heavy, and they tend to be gems because you don't have enough time to go through all the configs that you would like to. But
So yeah, most runners just blame the game, even though it's mostly your fault.
yeah.
If you want to run this game, don't blame the game, blame yourself, and just think what you could have done differently, and then do that next time, and it might work. Wow.
Like I said with Pogos, it's more of like a territorial control positioning game, but they definitely have their own luck to them, especially 200%. But even then, you can still manipulate it, sort of. You can control your own fate to an extent, and depending on the minigame you're doing, it's, you know, larger or on the larger.
Also, about version differences. Now, do you want to talk about them?
Yes, we can do version differences. So these guys run on the NTSC-U, the American version of the game. And pretty much the main thing that matters in this game is the frame rate. Eurocom didn't seem to understand the idea of balancing different regions. So unlike the Naughty Dog versions of the Crash Bandicoot games, so Crash 1, 2, 3, and CTR, where they balanced PAL and NTSC so that they sort of run the same speed. This game, it's straight up 5th, 6th speed if you run on PAL, so you just lose minutes over the run. Everything becomes a lot harder as well. For whatever reason, PAL is just incredibly difficult. So even if you sort of decide to run this game and you don't own the NTSC version, it's a bit more advised to just play on emulator than to pick PAL PS2.
Yeah, I timed it out. PAL FDS is slower than emulator.
Yes, yeah, so the frame rate advantage that NTSU has is more important than faster load. So emulator, especially way back when this was quite a popular racing game, a lot of people stuck with emulator. You can also just about get away with the J version.
It loses 20 seconds in any person, so it's perfectly fine.
Yeah. For a category like this, 20... I mean, obviously, you don't want to lose any time. But if you've got J and don't fancy getting NTSC-U, but still want to run this game, then you can pretty much do that. The only major differences with J is there's a random cutscene in Bearminator, which is the second boss, which tells you how to unlock Fate Crash, I think, or it's a cheat code for Fate Crash, which is a Japanese exclusive cheat code. But also, every time you exit a challenge, every time you complete a challenge, sorry, it will warp you in the center area as opposed to right outside the door. So I'll point it out sort of where these guys spawn after this challenge. For some reason, they changed it on J. Again, they a lot of the games stuff this thing. So they spawn in the middle of that path. On NTSC-J, they spawn right in the center of the warp room again. So you have to walk further every time you re-enter a level. Then you save a little bit of time when you go on to the next level. So it is still a little slower, but it's not a huge issue. So NTSC-J is very viable for speedruns. So this is this is the fun challenge in the game. Probably one of the best challenges. Because the fun thing in this is that every explosive blows a hole on the arena. So it can actually be really fun. Well, it's probably one of the only fun challenges to play two-player, at least. For being a party game, not many of these games are very fun to play with your friends, but this one definitely is.
Yeah, this one we held a tournament of online,
yes.
But it's probably not coming back with the netplay code, but
Yeah, there is a way to use a Game Shark, so anyone can play as any character. And
we did 1v1s too.
Yeah, so you can actually get rid of 2 characters, so it's 1v1 in this this level. So they were a pretty fun little tournament that we held a while ago, but it never came back despite everyone enjoying it.
Well, the input delay is based on your ping to the server, which meant most people had like 150 milliseconds at least.
Yeah, we did it online, so some people are at a disadvantage if they were obviously not European for a start. The AI aren't really very smart on these challenges. There are some sort of techniques you can do where if you can throw a crate and it hits the platform that an AI is standing on, they can just immediately get hit by the crate and then fall down the hole. Because obviously, if they fall down the hole, it's immediate death. So sometimes you can actually throw a crate perfectly, and the AI will just immediately just fall straight down a hole that you've just created. If the AI are close enough to the edges and sort of jumping over holes or standing near holes, you can kick them into them or hit them with a crate, and they'll fall into the hole. The hitboxes on the holes are really weird, and that if they sort of fall near them enough, the game's like, all right, yeah, see you later, pal, and it just sucks you into the hole. So sometimes you don't even need to be super near them. Crash just completely destroyed Cortex there. That's also a really consistent way to kill AIs if you kick crates into them, like explosive crates, because it will blow up the platform they're actually standing on when it hits them. So that's another consistent way to do it. Coming up is the Crystal Challenge for this level, which is probably, I think it's probably one of the more fun challenges. It's a little more difficult with Tiny and Kong, but the gimmick here is that you can't pick up crates, so they can only kick crates into the AI. And the AI can be a bit fussy with what they do. They might start getting stuck in a corner, and it makes it really difficult to approach them. But yeah, these guys, we want to try and either kick them in holes or just sort of kamikaze a little bit, just tank damage, because they're obviously, with it being 2-player as well, it's not too much problem. And there we go. Cortex sort of got kicked towards that hole, and then the hole just sucked him in. So that was a pretty good challenge.
Also, you might have seen there, you can avoid damage by jumping. Can you explain how it works better?
Yeah, it's if you are on the rising frames of your jump, aka before the apex of your jump, you won't take any damage from splash damage of crates. If it's a direct hit, you will, but if the crate like explodes next to you, then you won't take any damage while jumping up. However, coming down you still do, so it's like a timing thing.
Yeah, it's really important, especially for like the multiplayer tournament, because it's one of the key techs not to get trapped in corners and things like that. So this challenge is, we haven't seen this challenge before, so this is a new challenge type introduced in Hub 2. And it's another big reason why Kong and Tiny are optimal for this this category, because their shots do so much damage that they only need to hit AI 4 times, I think it is. And so 3 or 4, I don't remember on this challenge in particular. But their shots do the most damage at the cost that they move slow and that they don't last very long on the screen. But it's actually an advantage that their shots don't last very long on screen, because you can only have 1 shot on screen at a time that you've sent. So you don't want your shots to be on screen a long time. Crash and Cortex are notoriously bad for this, because their shots stay on screen for ages, and you're pretty much defenseless if you can't obviously fight back. So that's why their shots do more damage and they don't last on screen as long. And the only downside is that they move slower, but a lot of the time that's not too much of a big issue. Because if you notice, because their damage is higher than the AIs, all they're going to do on this challenge is just run straight into the AI, and they're both just going to bully 1 AI each, because they are guaranteed to kill them unless, obviously, they get hit by a mine. If they get hit by a mine, mines will flat out take away half your health on this challenge. So they don't want to get hit by those. The AI sometimes drop mines and get hit by them themselves. They sort of don't really have any logic behind where they drop mines, so they can just sort of drop them anywhere. We saw how important it was that Bensagram could get another shot as Kong. His first shot missed, but he could just reposition himself, and his shot didn't last too long, so he can just get another one out and kill Cortex a bit quicker there. So now we're coming on to the Crystal Challenge for this. This can be a little annoying in single player. Well, these challenges can be a bit unlucky in single player, because you can get completely cornered. As you can imagine, only 1 person can move down these narrow alleyways at a time. So if an AI decides that they're just going to wall you, pretty much you can't do anything about it, because they're just going to squash you and you're going to take a lot of damage. So this challenge in particular, the little thing, the submarine at the bottom will shoot a bomb at the players. Whoever the first one it sees it will shoot at. You can avoid them pretty easily, but if you get hit by a bomb, it will also take away half your health, so they want to avoid that.
It hits in like a plus sign in the middle, that's why I went upwards when I was 90 degrees to the right.
Yeah. You can actually just sit in the corners there, and you won't get hit by the bombs from the middle.
Also, you might have noticed, if the AI shoots themselves, they take 0 damage for no reason at all. just to make the game fair, I guess.
Yeah, so if you shoot yourself in a challenge, you actually take less damage than if someone else was to shoot you. So a strat is to shoot yourself to minimize the amount of damage an AI can do to you. So that's a strat that both the player can use, but the AI also do it sort of, I think by accident more than anything else. They just sort of try and target someone they can't hit and just shoot themselves. So this challenge is quite, well, I'd say quite difficult. It's consistent, but it can be quite difficult in a single-player speedrun. The missiles that these bears are shooting will immediately stun a player when they hit them, so they want to avoid them. But the strat here is that whoever the bears are targeting, the other player is going to try and get as close to the bears as possible so that they can knock them off. It's an interesting thing with this challenge is that the bears can't actually push you off just by walking into you. They don't really have a very strong push. They just knock you towards the edge. So if you're doing that, if you're struggling with this challenge in single player, and a really important thing to do is not to bounce off the bears when you're trying to recover, because the only way you can immediately fall off is if you bounce off a bear by trying to push them when you're too close to the edge. So sometimes you just have to pretty much just play neutral and just let them push you off so that you can recover and fight them back instead of trying to fight them back all the time. So now we're going to ramp up the difficulty quite a bit for...
Infamous challenge.
Yeah, for ballistics, the embolism, the hardest challenge in a 200% speedrun.
Shout out to Bro Menace for these threats.
Yeah.
Definitely still working.
So there, as you notice, Cortex has got a red flashing barrier in front of his cart. So in the corners, when Engine isn't on screen, so one won't spawn at the moment, but as soon as he's done shooting balls everywhere, a power-up will appear on one of the 4 corners in the arena. So these guys, what they can try and do is they can camp the top right and bottom left corner, because those are the only corners that the AI can steal a power-up from them from. But it can also spawn in the bottom right, where it's guaranteed that a player will pick it up. So these guys want to try and aim for the power-ups, because what it does is it repels balls towards the enemy's goals. So there they camp the corners, but then one just spawned in their own area, so that they were guaranteed to get it. And you'll notice that balls will start just being repelled from whoever's cart has one. It's really powerful if you get one where Cortex has one now, because when Engine starts shooting balls everywhere, it can be really helpful to have that power-up. So again, it's really unlucky that AI gets the power-up in some cases. Yeah, you notice that Bance has taken a lot more balls on this challenge than he has on the other ones, because the challenges are just a lot more difficult. This section particularly, it gets really difficult to track everything on screen. And sometimes you can just be in situations where you have to choose which side to go on to at least save one ball, because you can't save both of them.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, there's like a 75% chance that they'll get the first power-up. This is a strat found by Brawl Manus. Gonna give Brawl Manus a shout out for this one. But if you're playing single player, you want to just camp I think it's bottom left corner is the Brawl Manus corner.
It is, yeah.
Yeah. So if you sit on the bottom left corner, there's a 25% chance. It's 100% consistent, 25% of the time. But you can just get a power-up spawn on your own single player, like that way. So you want to just camp a corner whenever you get some downtime and you know a power-up's going to spawn. There's only ever one power-up in play, and then once it runs out, there's a couple of seconds, and then another one will show up. Actually, no, it's immediately, sorry. Another one will show up.
The Engine also like shoots him in a pattern that set from the start. The actual pattern itself is RNG, but you can tell it from the first shot already where the ball shooting towards your goal is going to be.
Yes. Yeah, so he has a pattern where he shoots like he shoots sort of up, left, down, right, and then he shoots like diagonal, so diagonally up, left, diagonally down, right, and so on, and he just repeats that pattern. And so you can at least guess where the shots are going to go from where he's starting to where he starts shooting balls. So it's not too random. Obviously, the first one you have to work out, but then when AI start bouncing balls back and forth, it can be a bit chaotic. So that's why it can be quite difficult for casual players trying to do this challenge. Also, we're still keeping with the same idea of trying to equalize the amount of balls that are going into the AI's goal. But especially single player, the core goal is to just at least win the challenge before trying to optimize it too much. Because the last thing you want to do is lose a ballistics level, because these lose about 2-3 minutes, depending how unlucky you get, depending how long your challenge is.
You crashes so many left.
Yep.
Yeah, so in this instance, Crash is just not letting anything in. Sometimes the AI's difficulty just ramps up for seemingly no reason. So Cortex has just took all the balls, and Crash still has 10 left. So now it's a bit difficult, because as well as Bensa being down as well, there's 2 goals that aren't taking any balls in. So they're just pretty much just wasted space at this point. So it's a little suboptimal. On 1v1 situation, it's a lot easier to just whittle the AI down. But as long as you've got a good advantage going into it. If you play the 200% version, 200% speedrun, the AI's difficulty ramps up so much that you can just be in a situation where you're the first one to die, because they just do such a good job of deflecting balls from their goals. So those are when it gets really difficult.
Yeah, that's when you can pause buffer the game.
Yeah. So, and yes, you can pause buffer those challenges. So you mash start and just watch what direction the balls are going in, so you can sort of control it a little bit and sort of at least work out where you need to go. So, yeah. Oh.
Nice.
Oh, that was okay. That was a bit unfortunate. I'm trying to understand, like, your depth of view on these is pretty difficult, trying to work out if you're actually aligned with an AI when you go for them.
I don't actually know if it happened. That was interesting.
Yeah. It can just be, it's really easy to just go for an AI too close to the edge, and you actually just go straight past them and fall off immediately. Your hitbox is pretty much your polar bear as well, so it's not easy playing as Kong or Tiny, because the character size is a lot bigger than the polar bear, so it's a bit more harder to actually tell where you are positioned. The gimmick in this challenge, though, is Uka will just randomly start destroying the edge of the arena. If he destroys the edge you're on, you don't fall off. You just sort of recover over midair, and you can recover like 3 or 4 times just on midair. So he doesn't make you fall off that way, but obviously he'll make the arena smaller. Ben's got really unlucky there, where he got caught by Uka. Uka will randomly fly over players, and when he comes in contact with them, he will give you a debuff. It's guaranteed to be a debuff. He doesn't give out power-ups. He only gives you debuffs. So that one, he's given Crash a wait. I haven't really mentioned what the wait does, but like the lightning bolt, you've got 8 seconds to get rid of it. And whoever has the wait after the end of the 8 seconds just gets immediately squashed. So sometimes in a speedrun, it's just safer to let the AI take the wait instead of trying to push them off.
Yeah, I wanted to go for speed, then kill him first, but it didn't really cooperate.
Yeah, and later levels especially, you don't want to lose a challenge trying to push them off a little earlier, because you don't want to wait for a wait.
Yeah, counter pushing relies on the AI actually like immediately pushing you, but if they just don't, then that's too bad.
Yeah, we'll start seeing some more tech, which, as Paul mentioned, called counter pushing. So that's when the AI push you, and then you immediately push them back. And that's the only way in some challenges you can actually get them towards the edge and knock them off. Because when you get later challenges, especially the gem challenges, the AI pretty much will recover off the edge 100% of the time. So you have to knock them off with enough force that they immediately fall off. So that's when this counter-pushing mechanic will come in, where you're trying to bait the AI into pushing you, and then you push them back immediately. So the gimmick of this challenge is that the players cannot recover from the edge. So if they go towards the edge, they will immediately fall off. So there's no recover mechanic for those guys, so they want to not play too risky. Because they're playing co-op, they have a bit of an advantage where they can't just bully an AI. Especially when you've got 2 players, one player can be a bit more ballsy with their attacks, because the second player, if they fail, you've still got that second player who can play a bit safer and win the challenge. So you can be a bit faster in that regard and just go for better plays.
Yeah, I didn't need to do anything there because Benza had like enough boost gauge to actually counter push Crash off perfectly.
Yeah, so Benza was playing a lot more riskier than Paul there. He was going for the counter pushes. If in some instances, the AI can recover and they sort of go at an angle, and then you go to push them off, and then you'll just fall off yourself. So that's why you can get really risky on those challenges trying to counter push, because the AI just have really weird behavior when they're trying to recover off edges.
I was 2 away from that.
So yeah, so the gimmick in this challenge is Ripperoo is going to start throwing TNTs randomly on the stage, and they count down, and anyone in a 1 block radius from the TNT will take damage. For some reason, Bensa took damage when he was 2 blocks away, which he shouldn't have, but Crash Bash is incredibly inconsistent with a lot of things. So usually this is a pretty safe challenge, apart from when Bensa and me did the co-op run a couple of nights ago when we failed it. But sometimes the AI can just do really well in this kind of challenge. There's also another gimmick where they can make squares. So they took some inspiration from the last Pogo level, Pogo Go-Go. You can make squares, but instead of getting points for them, the squares just auto-fill. So you can actually just get more squares filled in a short amount of time. So it is worth it to fill squares just to get more raw points. But obviously, if your square breaks at some point, then you lose the points that you could have gained. You can also go all the way around the edge and just fill the entire arena with your color if you really want to
The
go.
camera thing.
It's that move.
Get you up there. Oh, it doesn't show. Actually, no, it does.
Oh yeah.
In the background.
So the developers playtested their game really well, and if you zoom the camera out enough, or if you win at the very top of the screen zooms into your player, and there's actually no texture behind that hill at the top, so you can just see the skybox. And yeah, for some reason they didn't think to like make some sort of texture there so that you didn't see that. There are just some imperfections all over this game. It is safe to say that the quality testing wasn't too thorough. Yeah, these guys don't need to communicate really too much.
And we played with each other for like so many times by now, it's like whatever.
Yeah. Yeah, these guys have done enough co-op runs where they don't even need to verbally sort of say which crates they're going for. They can just sort of tell what the other player is doing. But yeah, these challenges are easy enough that they can just pretty much just win them without worrying too much. They both have... Actually, Cortex has broke 100 points, but Crash only has 40. So
it's only the Pogo Painter gem you need to communicate in, and if we were to do a 201% run instead, then it would have more Pogo, non-auto-scroller stuff going on, but we don't, so...
Yeah. Yeah, there you go. You can see the background flashing. There's just no texture there.
3, 2, 1, go.
Yeah, it's one of those games you can play with one hand, I guess.
Yeah, the only input you need for this game is the directions. You can shoot missile with square, but these guys don't need to shoot missiles. Obviously, missiles, all they do is just stun whoever they hit.
Also, Ben's is going for 62, I think.
64.
Yeah, it's an 8x8 grid, so you can actually get 64 squares colored if you just go all the way around the outside.
But thanks to Bash shenanigans, you can't actually get 64.
Yeah, as soon as you pretty much fill the square, even if you manage to, all your points will just rapidly get painted over by everyone else. If you've got that arrow, that would have been really lucky, but it is really difficult to go for this, but because the challenge is such a safe win, you can just play about with it, and it's something to do, in a sense, because these challenges, when you do them enough times, they're not really as fun as the first time you played them.
Yeah, I still need to take care to keep points up while he's messing about.
Yeah, you can't just like throw these matches away.
Potential.
Oh, it's my... Oh,
Potential.
Cortex doesn't... Oh no, there's a TNT.
Yeah, I tried.
Oh, Cortex is painted at the top.
I tried keeping him off the box, but I couldn't.
Yeah.
No.
Oh well. You can also do the same in El Pogo Logo, not El Pogo, a Pogo Go-Go, which was the other challenge where you make squares, where you can actually just paint around the entire arena. You can get 64 points, but you have to sort of paint all the squares when an AI or all the other players are mid-jump. because you don't actually get points for the square and the AI is on. So you can get at least 61 points in one go if you do it on the other challenge. Yeah, that was an exciting 5 minutes of El Pogo Loco.
If you fail any of those challenges, it's like a real mental hit right there.
Yeah, if you fail it, it's just another minute and a half of not really that much of a fun challenge.
Yeah.
There's always a bash challenge right after the pogo levels, and they're the fun ones.
Dude, ice physics, you can jump in here. What?
Yeah, so there's ice physics everywhere, so these guys will be sliding about a lot. But when you jump, all your momentum just resets, so you don't keep momentum in midair. So you can pretty much just maneuver really easily by jumping, so it's not very much of an issue. And also, there's a penguin in the middle. If you wake the penguin up, he will start spinning around the arena. He does a crate's worth of damage. He does a lot of damage. And as I mentioned before, he does a melee hit. So if the penguin hits a player, they can immediately get hit by a crate as well. So it's a good way to watch where the penguin goes. Because if he stuns one of your enemies, you can actually just immediately throw a crate and just deal a lot of damage to them. So it's really worth it to at least watch where he's going, just for some easy hits. Sometimes the AI don't really know how to handle the penguin anyway, so they just run them out in the middle. Because the penguin will just sort of do a spiral, and he'll go all the way around the outside, and then he'll come back into the middle. So you can sort of always know where he's going, but the AI don't understand this concept, so they just run and get hit by him all the time. Oh, yeah. That's the cool thing where Bensa ran into a Nitro that was off-screen. The game's camera isn't good enough to sort of pan out so that you can see hazardous crates. Nitros you can't pick up, they blow up as soon as you hit them, and sometimes the camera just doesn't let you see that Nitro when you walk towards the bottom of the arena. So that can be really annoying if you lose a challenge that way. But yeah, pretty easy win. I say, especially when you've got two players bullying the AI, they can just pick on them a lot easier. And sort of when it's a single player run, because the AI can just pick on the player. There's an actual stat in this game called player targeting, and the AI will target the player before they target anything else. And that becomes really apparent in the relic challenges. They will literally just, on the tank levels especially, they will try and shoot you from the opposite side of the arena and ignore the AI who's standing right next to them. So it's really unfair, and it's a little just dumb in the sense that the difficulty is just literally target a player and nothing else, so it becomes a 1v3 challenge. So we mentioned there is ice physics here. The crystal for this level really isn't much of a challenge at all, because all they do is ramp up the ice physics.
Yeah.
So
you just keep jumping on it.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, you can just jump and reset your momentum so you're not sliding all over the place. So that's what these guys are going to do. It's really hard to move forward. So it can be a little detrimental in some areas where, like Benson, right now when he's got a box, he can't jump when he's picked up a box. So it can be a bit annoying in that sense, but you pretty much, otherwise you can just jump freely and easily gain ground and dodge the AI if you need to. So it's not too much of a challenge here.
The one annoying part about this challenge is that the AI gets more health, actually.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
That creates still less damage, either or.
See you in Drain Bash.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's only annoying in one player, I guess. It isn't as noticeable in two-player mode. But
Yeah, part of making the game more difficult, they just boost the stats of the AI. So just making them play better, they just like, oh, okay, we'll just give you more health instead. Here you go, that's challenging. So all the crystal challenges, the AI just have better stats, as well as you having to deal with some stupid gimmick. Which is why this game is just naturally unfair to play. Because it's, by default, it's just like the AI are just better than you. So we're seeing another tank level. The format of this game is that each hub introduces a new challenge type, and then that challenge is brought forward into the next hub. So each hub has one extra level, but it also uses the new challenge type from the previous hub. So we're going to see a tank level in each hub. So hub 1 doesn't have a tank level, but then hub 2, 3, and 4 all have tank levels. So that's sort of how they introduce new challenge types. Some reason Cortex didn't take any damage from the mine he was sitting on. That's also a thing that can happen. But yeah, if you haven't noticed already, the gimmick on this one is that the walls just sort of go up. So it changes the shape of the arena.
He hasn't played it in roll yet. So
Yeah, it's a set pattern, so you always sort of know what it's going to go. So it's going to go to the side here. Then it's going to do the middle pattern, and then it's going to go into a H shape if they even make it that far. But you can just bully the AI pretty easily on this the challenge, because these guys do more damage than the AI again. Also, shoutouts to Kong's texture in this challenge. As we mentioned before, there's imperfections, and Kong has a transparent bit of hair that for some reason just loads as pink on the tank levels. They didn't like texture it properly, so he has a pink bit of hair. Which is really noticeable. And I don't know how they didn't patch that out. So, but yeah, the AI started taking less damage on this challenge as well as the crystals. Because you know difficulty, so not only do you have less time to win, the AI take less damage, and they can also be really annoying by the way they play. They can play super passively and decide that they're not going to approach you and just sit on the other side of the map trying to play footsies and shoot shoot long range. So there is a new spawn as well. They can pick up mines. Not mines, sorry, bombs. Bombs do half damage health. So they will, if you manage to land, if you land on a bomb pickup, you will get 2 bombs that you can shoot, and they do half health damage, sort of on the trophy, and a little bit less on, obviously, once the AI gets a bit more health. So they're really important to pick up. Spencer's going to get the bombs here. So this challenge is really unfair because the AI just have so much health that it can be really difficult for the players. They got really lucky on that and played really well and managed to just win in 16 seconds. But these guys want to make sure they're moving all the time, because as soon as they sit still for even a second, a mine will just fall from the sky, and every single mine will instantly kill you. So if you sat still and the mine just lands on your head, you just die immediately, and that's the gimmick on that. So the AI have stupid amounts of health, and you can just die immediately from a mine landing on you. So that's sort of how those challenges go. So Dot Dash, this is the new challenge type. It has the best music in the game. Well, at least on the NTSC-U version. If you're playing on the J version, the Can plays on this game instead of the Dot Dash theme, which is the Dingodile theme, a bit of a remix of the Dingodile theme from Crash 3. Yeah, so pretty much the idea of this minigame is they're just going to race around the oval. They have to do a full lap of the oval, and then their score counts down when they cross the line. There is a lap skip because this level's broken as hell, where you can sort of get collisions over the finish line, and the game's like, oh, you just did 5 laps all in one go, and it just lets you do 5 laps. There's a bit of a weaker version on the start especially, where someone can just randomly finish a lap literally on the very first part of the track. So sometimes that can happen, and then that person just gets a huge advantage. Fortunately, the AI are really stupid, so that they just fall off all the time. So they're not a difficult challenge yet.
Cool, please.
Better.
Well, I cannot because you're taking my lines. Please, just stop
Push me
playing.
off, you got all the boost.
Yeah, the strat to win this on a co-op run is only one person needs to win. So usually whoever gets the best start is the one who's going to play. But I think 9 times out of 10 it's probably going to just be Bensa getting the line. He wants to pick up as much Wumper as possible, and Paul needs to not pick up Wumper so that Bensa can pick up Wumper, because that makes you go faster. So there's a boost mechanic where you hold square and you get a speed boost, and you want to get as much of a speed boost as possible from Wumper. So obviously you want Bensa to pick up the Wumper instead of Paul getting in the way and picking up instead. There is also a strat where the second player can just sabotage the AI, because it doesn't really matter what they do. But because the AI are so bad in this challenge, they don't even need to bother. So Paul's just going to pretty much piss about for like 40
missiles
seconds.
and do whatever.
Yeah.
Like they'll shoot missiles at me, so they don't shoot at Bensa.
Yeah, he can bait missiles from the AI, because there are missile spawns as well, and the AI will pick those up. Bensa wants to sit with a missile, because he's not going to shoot that, because he doesn't need to win. Only 2 missiles will spawn at a time. So Paul could, if one spawns near him, he could go pick it up, and then the AI won't be able to pick any missiles up. So he's got a missile there, doesn't really matter, but there are only 2 missiles in play, so if Pull has the other missile, the AI won't be picking up missiles and shooting them at the players. So Benson can again finish a bit quicker.
I actually think there are 3 missiles that can spawn in.
Yeah, I think a third can spawn in, but
They will spawn in later on, but will
Yeah.
never be so slow that it will.
yeah. So again, the gem challenge, like every other gem challenge, these guys have a 2-lap deficit where they have to make up. So pretty much the AI, again, not very good. So it shouldn't be too difficult for Benson to win. It is possible for the AI to get a lap skip, as mentioned before. So they immediately go to 7 laps, so you have a 3-lap deficit to make up. And it is possible to lose if the AI just sort of play remarkably well. But Benson's already caught up with them, and he's only done 6 laps. So these guys have only done 3 laps or something. Yeah, this is the easiest laid out track as well because it has the walls at the top. Later tracks don't have any walls on them, so it's a bit easier to fall off. And obviously, falling off just means that you have to respawn on the track and you lose a bit of time. So the player who's going for the win doesn't want to obviously fall off or get hit by anything. So this challenge requires a bit more communication, a bit more teamwork, because sort of, yeah. So the AI still aren't very smart. This is a really sketchy. Ooh, Benson got past him. So basically, the gimmick here is that if a player gets hit by a missile, doesn't matter which player, either one can get hit by a missile. If they get hit by a missile, the challenge will immediately fail and they'll just lose. So it's really important that these guys pick up missiles so that the AI don't get them. So Crash, going on his merry way with the missile is really dangerous, because if the AI, for some random ass reason, decides that they're going to go backwards or just hit a wall and decide they're just going to U-turn and go backwards and hit a player, they can just shoot you and you can immediately lose. Or if you go too fast and overtake them, then you can get in front of them and then they'll shoot with a missile and you'll immediately lose. So it doesn't matter which player, again, gets hit. Both of them need to avoid the missiles, but if they both pick up a missile, then the AI won't be able to pick one up. So it becomes pretty much just the same as a trophy challenge. And again, Benson just wants to aim on getting really good lap times and finishing that challenge as quick as possible.
3, 2, 1.
So now we're coming into a third boss, which is... The bosses are all take at least one of the gimmicks from one of the regular levels. So this one's just a tank level. So they have to destroy this big machine. So they're going to place mines strategically, because mines will hit two turrets at once if they place it right. You can slightly place it a little off center and only hit one. It's really precise on hitting both of them. They can also hit both turrets by shooting them with a bomb. So now the speed tech here is that they're...
No. Come here. Oh.
Whatever.
Yeah, it should be okay. So the speed tech here is that they're going to death abuse. Because it's not super difficult to win this challenge, but the boss has a lot of health. And this game has that cool adaptive difficulty thing where basically, every time you lose...
Okay, this is bad. Let's not do that. Let's just kill them, I guess.
Yeah, so they start doing more damage after they've death abused once. In a solo speedrun, you noticed at the start they tried to shoot each other and didn't do a lot of damage, so they've just decided to win the challenge instead. But you can death abuse a second time, which again, it makes the AI easier. So every time you die, the boss gets progressively easier, literally until the point where it's actually difficult to lose. Like, they just keep getting easier and easier and easier. Because hey, adaptive difficulty in video games, because who wants challenge, right? This will become a bit more apparent in the last boss, so we'll see that strategy again. There is adaptive difficulty in all of the trophy challenges as well. And it balances out where if the players win, the AI get more difficult, and then if the players lose, they get easier. So there is actually adaptive difficulty in this challenge, so they do progressively get more difficult as they win. It's not too strong, but that is also a thing. If you lose an entire trophy, they just get super easy. So that it's not just rounds, it's like entire trophies. But adaptive difficulty doesn't cross over to Gem Crystal and Relic challenges. So you can be stuck on a challenge for an hour, and it doesn't get any easier. You just have to learn how to do it. So this is my favorite. This is personally my favorite level. The last ballistics level. There's only 4 versions of each level type, so this is the last ballistics level. We've also in the last hub of the game, but it is the longest hub. So it's why we've sort of still got 40 minutes, 30 to 40 minutes of the run left. Again, there's no real huge gimmick in this. Pretty much, the arena is round, which can make it a bit more difficult for some people who prefer sort of the straight edges. So they do move in a half circle, pretty well a quarter circle in their areas. The walls are really broken because everything's curved, so the edges don't work properly. So sometimes you can really easily glitch balls through the wall, and it will hit your opponent's goal.
Yeah, that just happened to me. If you happen to see that.
Yeah, if you squash a ball between the wall and your goal, it will either squeeze out into the arena, it will squeeze into your goal and then flip back out and disappear. So you still get the point scored against you, but the ball actually goes back in play and disappears. Or you can just squash the ball into the other person's goal and it just sort of clips through the wall. So the challenge is incredibly broken in that regard. Again, the AI is starting to get a bit more difficult. They're starting to understand how to play these challenges a bit, and Bensagram really unlucky on that one. They played really aggressively towards him, so it is harder for the player on the side to survive sometimes.
Yeah, the physics change here too, where you can actually rescue the balls if they're right next to you.
Yeah.
And instead, you need to like hit the balls with the tip of your kick for some reason. I don't even know why. But do it like that instead.
Yeah, because another gimmick is that randomly one of the 4 corners of the arena will, the engine will give out and the arena will tilt towards that corner. So it puts 2 players at a disadvantage, and obviously 2 players will then gain an advantage. So it's a bit. It can be really unfair if the same corner keeps falling, or the same 2 corners that are both your goal keep falling. Because obviously, whichever side's tilted down, the balls are going to naturally fall that way. So it can be really difficult for those guys. Yeah, also the air do a fun little wiggle technique where they just move left and right. I don't know why they do it. I've seen them like move left and right as if they're ready to defend their goal, and then they just ignore the first ball that's shot towards them as well. They don't do anything. It's just a really weird thing that they do on the challenge. But yeah, also balls can just sort of hit each other in the middle of the battleground, and they don't bounce off the way you'd expect them to. And sometimes balls can hit each other and then they can just spiral in the middle. Because they keep coming in contact, and the game's like, where do these balls go? So they just keep hitting each other and spinning in the middle until eventually one of them breaks free and they just go in random directions. So the physics just really are not super easy to work out. Like sometimes they work as you expect, but a lot of the time they just don't. Because yeah, having a working physics engine on a game from like 2000 is a difficult thing.
Well, CTR didn't play that.
Yeah, well.
3, 2,
Yeah, some people can find this challenge, especially like Embolism, the previous ballistics level. The challenge can be really difficult for some people. So,
especially the crystal.
No, yeah.
yeah, we haven't mentioned the gem and crystals for these levels because we're not doing them because they're really slow. But this is one of the hardest crystals because it's sometimes it's genuinely impossible to win because you can get impossible angles. So effectively, the gimmick in the crystal is that the AI can randomly turn one of these regular balls into a red ball, and then a red ball doesn't score a point, but if it comes into contact with a player, it immediately kills the player. The AI can just create them, and they can bounce off AI cards as much as they want. It doesn't matter. But if it hits a player, then they'll immediately die. With the really annoying inconsistent physics engine this game has, sometimes a ball can hit the corner of the arena, and it will just fly across your arena, so it will hit at such an angle that it's guaranteed to hit your cart. So you can actually just lose, and there's nothing you could do about it apart from just take the loss and reset. So some of these challenges we were mentioning before, where sometimes you do have to evaluate how you play, and it's not always the game's fault, but sometimes you do get configs, and it's just like hands in the air. It's like, I couldn't have won. You have to just start again, keep hitting your head against the wall until eventually you don't get unlucky and win. But that's why it's very easy for less experienced players, let's say, to blame the game all the time because they just don't have that sort of knowledge how to avoid being in really bad positions. But sometimes even if you are played this game a lot, it is very easy to put yourself in a position where it's just like, actually, you can't physically win. But that's the last ballistics level we'll see at the run. So we're going to start seeing the last versions of these levels. They said there's only 4 versions of each level. And with it being the last hub, we won't see another ballistics level again. And the same, all these levels we'll see once more. So we've got Manic Panic. This is my favorite polar level as a kid, especially. Because the gimmick in this one is that we're going to have throwable bombs. You'll also notice the arena in this level is just gigantic. So actually pushing AI off becomes a bit more challenging because they start to fight back a lot more. And they also like to sit at the edge of the screen. So what Bensa tried to go for there was a bomb push or a counter push. So using the bombs, if you shoot an AI, they're stunned for a few frames. And then when they're sitting on the floor, you shoot them and basically they lose their polar bear. And then you can knock them backwards. So what you want to do is shoot a bomb at them and then immediately push them and then they can fly straight off the map. They also can't recover when they've lost their polar bear. So as soon as they come into contact with the edge of the arena, they just fall straight off. So
yeah, technically they weigh a fuck ton there, but sometimes just ignore the whole fact and don't do anything about it.
Yeah, it can actually be really difficult to push the AI off once they've lost their polar bear because for some reason they become really hard to actually hit. Okay, just bully the AI there. Especially co-op, because both players can go for the bombs, it's a lot easier to coordinate on who gets them. If the AI picks up a bomb, sometimes they just sit on them and they don't shoot them. Like other challenges, only one bomb can be in play at any time. So if an AI picks up a bomb, sometimes you just want to bait that bomb from them just so that they shoot it, and then you can get another one because they're so important on winning these challenges quickly. If you actually if you get shot by a single bomb, you lose your polar bear. If you get shot twice, you will just blow up immediately. So you don't want to get hit by 2 bombs. And there's a strat here, which I think Ben's going to try and go for. Unfortunately, didn't get it, but you can actually hit 2 AI with the same bomb. So, okay, that was pretty good gem. That gem could be really difficult if you get bad bomb spawns and the AI just put up a fight.
Yeah, you can barely like hear the bomb spawn and then you just kind of have to guess where it is. And usually if you can't see it, it's going to be where the camera isn't.
Yeah.
So.
A lot of the time, that challenge is pretty much just won by counter pushes and hitting bombs. Do you not do the crystal on that one?
Forgot.
Oh.
I thought that was the crystal.
Oh, so we skipped the challenge. We'll have to go back to it because there is a crystal challenge for that level, which we need to do as well. I
never remember what the route is anyway, so I don't really mind.
I wasn't sure if I already did it or not.
Going back to challenge loses like no time though, so it's fine.
Yeah, fortunately, if you do miss a challenge, it's not too difficult to just backtrack in the warp room. So this is probably one of the more difficult casual poker levels. So the gimmick here is that if you shoot someone with a missile, you steal all of their squares. So there is a strat where you can maximize the amount of points you get by stealing their squares. But there's actually 3 new gimmicks in this challenge. If you jump on your own square, you immediately erase all of your other squares. So you don't want to jump on your own squares, which can be really annoying to deal with. Because if a box spawns on your squares and you can't get to that box without jumping on other ones of your squares, that can also happen where your shoes run out and you've already decided what input you're doing. So you just fall short and jump on your square and lose your points again. But yeah, sometimes you don't want to, with sort of the pattern Bensa's getting at the moment, where his squares are all over the place, it's very easy for boxes or ramps to spawn on his squares, and he can't score. Fortunately, you can jump on a box that's landed on your square, but if there's a square before it that's your color, then you have to land. If you land on your square and there isn't a box on it, that's when you erase them. But there is a padlock, which you notice the AI like to go for. If you land on a padlock, that locks your squares, and no one can paint over them. And you also can't jump, and you can jump on your own squares, and they won't erase. So it's quite a useful power-up, but it's not as beneficial as just getting a padlock, getting shoes, sorry. So even if you do get a padlock, sometimes it's better to just stick with shoes, because you get more points, you cover more ground again. So that's really the core mechanic. And here we can't. Benson's having trouble getting those boxes in the corner because he'd have to paint over a square to get them. So some of those strats in this challenge involve sort of camping a missile and then waiting for an AI to be near a box or being near you so that you can shoot them and immediately steal their points. Because if you shoot an AI again, you steal their squares, but then you want to bank them as soon as possible, because when you've got lots of squares on the board, it's very easy for the other players to just jump over them. So although it's really beneficial to shoot the AI because it steals their points, you want to try and score them as quick as possible as well. But really, the only difficult sort of strategies come into play when you start playing Relic, and the Crystal Challenge on this one is especially difficult. Because on the Crystal Challenge, they're like, oh yeah, we've introduced this new gimmick where you can shoot people and steal squares. So you can't paint your own squares. So the Crystal, you can only score by shooting AI, and it's actually quite difficult if you're not too sure how to do it.
Oh.
Yes.
We rescued Bensagram, but it doesn't matter with the points we have.
Yeah, you can just trap yourself, and sometimes your partner can rescue you and just paint a square near you so you can get out. But sometimes you just have to face the fact that you're going to have to paint over your squares. Sometimes it's also beneficial to paint over your squares to pick up shoes and things like that if you haven't got enough painted already. So it's not always the worst thing. Obviously, it's annoying, but sometimes you just need to make that split-second call that it's actually better to just go over your own squares than to actively avoid them. So even though Pull had the padlock, he's going to just take the shoes in that situation because it's more beneficial.
I mean, the padlock doesn't really accomplish anything.
Yeah, well, I mean, it does let you score more points, but it doesn't really help you as much as shoes do. But the thing with padlocks is that the actual item moves on the board. And so you have to actually chase after the power-up to get it, and they sort of move randomly. So it's a little annoying in that regard because you have to sort of chase after a power-up, which does less than shoes, which just stand still. Okay, that's really unfortunate that Paul got shot by Crash there. The AI do occasionally shoot you, but so many times the AI will shoot you and then just immediately erase all their own squares. Crash didn't, but he took so long to score that it didn't really count for anything. But yeah, it's an incredibly easy win on this one. It'd be really difficult for the AI to sort of recover and come back from this. So Paul, yeah, like I say, Paul doesn't really need to move. Bence has already stopped playing.
Reducing the lag.
Yeah, yeah, you can reduce lag just by standing still, as you mentioned before, because lag does play a big factor in this game. Despite it being a PS1 game, it still lags on the latest version of a PS2, so...
So we're going back for the crystal now.
Yeah, this challenge, they would have done all three at the same time, but it's really easy to just forget what challenge you're on and just lose track and accidentally miss something. If you're doing a single-player speedrun and don't realize, you can get to the end. Because the reason we're doing lots of different challenges is because the boss requires you to have a certain amount of challenges completed before you can face them. So you can't just finish the game on trophies. You have to sort of get all these extra things.
That usually doesn't happen now.
Yeah, sometimes the AI can be knocked off when you're on your off your polar,
It's
which
also
is
what
rare.
I mean by the whole, but you have a ton of weight thing. Yeah.
Also, one thing we didn't mention, if you do a square input, so if you do a push and you're not pressing any direction inputs, you do what's called a neutral push, which actually moves you further across. I don't think it's a stronger push, but it lets you cover more ground. So sometimes you can actually cover more ground easier by just pushing and not doing any direction.
If the game crashes here, then that's too bad.
Yeah, the game can randomly crash on this level, which is cool. It's happened to me in a race. I think it's pretty much happened to everyone, I think, at this point in a race. The gimmick here is there are random power-ups in the question mark crates. And the power-ups are incredibly overpowered to the point where the whole game is just evolves around who gets the power-up, and it's completely random. So these guys are going to throw these literal paper crates at the AI that don't really do a lot of damage, and really they're just looking for power-ups. So the power-ups do the same damage as a TNT crate. TNT crates will still spawn in this challenge, so they want to aim for those as well, but the these crates that are also spawning don't do any damage, really, so you don't want to focus too much on hitting the AI when the question mark crates are spawned.
So this is the best power-up you want to... Oh, no.
Yeah, there's 3 types of power-ups. So one of them, they sort of have a number of uses. So the one use power-up that Benson just got there is a shockwave, which sort of sends a bubble around the opponent, a shockwave around the player, sorry, and you can just walk into the enemy with those, and it deals massive damage. The 2-use power-up is missiles, which Cortex has got now, so it just shoots, I think it's 8 missiles. You only get to shoot them twice. And then the best power-up is also the one Cortex just got, which is the egg, and it shoots a homing egg thing, which you can shoot 3 times. So it's really... Oh, it's a rare sight when Crash is moving with a crate. One thing we haven't mentioned is that the AI will pick up crates and then they will immediately throw them. Incredibly rare that an AI will pick up a crate and move with them. So it's so unexpected that like it's actually surprising that
Oh, it's spin damage, okay.
yeah, the Crash did that there. Because they will just pick up and immediately throw them. I think it's when they pick up a crate and then the AI doesn't realize they've picked up a crate. So they try and do a different input while holding a crate. So they just sort of wander around aimlessly and throw it in some random direction. So it's quite rare that happens.
No, we're doing this.
So this is the hardest challenge in the game and the most random, I guess.
Yeah.
Hardest.
Hardest, yeah. Just need to get lucky, pretty much. You need to get an item from these crates, which we didn't get right immediately. We got the worst item as well, but at least it damaged the Cortex, which is good. Hopefully we'll get some. Okay, that's really good. And especially that. Let's do it again. Double hit.
Oh yeah, this is really good RNG.
Yeah. Easy.
Okay. So that challenge, you can get really unlucky and just not get... You can either not get any power-ups or just get the wrong power-ups, and you can't deal enough damage to the AI. Because the crates don't deal damage, that challenge pretty much just depends on you getting TNTs and power-ups. And because they're just random, it's a bit... It's really inconsistent, especially on a single-player speedrun, to the point where I don't do it in my route, and a lot of other people don't have Drain Bash Gem in their route because it's so inconsistent that it's just not worth it. So the gimmick here is that these guys can't kick the power-up crates. So the developers realize how important power-up crates are, so like, hey, you can't kick these, you have to pick them up and throw them. So a strat they can actually do here is throw the crates at each other, and then they can, if it has a power-up in it, the power-up will just explode and land on the floor. Well, the crate will explode and the power-up will land on the floor. But again, it's completely random if there's any crates. So Benson just did a tech there where you can jump into the path of a power-up, and if you jump into that path, you will get the power-up as the power-up is homing in on the AI. So it's actually a really nice tech where you can stand near an AI when they get a power-up and just intercept it from them. So it was actually a pretty decent... I think I lost a bit of time in the trophy, but overall that was a pretty good Drain Bash for a speed run, especially because you can just lose so much time just from slow rounds. Now we're going into another tank level. So this is the first tank level that isn't just encased in little alleyways. So you have free movement on where you want to go. These, I think, are better tank levels, but there's only really one of them where it's true tanks. The last tank level is Swamp Fox, and it's absolute garbage.
Yeah, we're not going to see that in this one.
Yeah, we won't see some of the levels. There's an extra hub, Hub 5, in this level that has purely levels that you have to unlock by doing a certain number of Crystal, Gem, and Relic challenges and Trophy challenges. So you have to pretty much do like all the challenges to unlock all the secret levels. But the developers saved the worst levels to the ones that you unlock by playing the game more. So
yeah, it's like all the scrollers almost.
yeah, your reward is really bad levels. Yeah, so pretty much some similarities here is these guys are just going to try and bully the AI. They're going to pick on an AI each. They can try and corner them and then start dropping mines, because the AI can get stuck on them. They won't really fight back and they won't really move. You'll notice the AI target really weirdly. Like Crash is trying to shoot Kong. So despite the fact that Crash is sitting at the top of the screen, he's trying to shoot the player at the bottom of the screen instead of the player who's shooting him point blank, because the targeting is just completely broken. This is also emphasizing that the AI will shoot the player before they shoot anything else.
No, you can check the route by that. So that's what I mean by I never remember the route. I just look at what the items I require are, and then go by the fastest ones left. So you
Yeah.
can pause the game when you enter mini games, and you can see how much you have left without losing any time.
Yeah, it will load the level at the same speed, so you can just pause freely there.
So this is a tech you can do. You just block them, and they will get hit by the mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. There is another gimmick in this level. So the statue in the middle, when you hit, I think it's 25 seconds left?
Around there, yeah.
Yeah, so as soon as you've played the level for 25 seconds, the totem in the middle will start jumping off, and then they'll start moving about. When they jump off, they land with a shockwave, and anyone caught in that shockwave will take a lot of damage. So we didn't actually see it happen because co-op tank levels are so quick that we didn't see that gimmick at all.
You'll see it here.
Yeah, so the crystal gimmick is instead of jumping off, the totem will start spinning, and it will shoot a missile at the players when they seize them. If you don't move, it will just keep shooting you as well. There's no cooldown on it. It will just like shoot you, and then it will just immediately start moving. So if you're moving in the clockwise rotation, you'll keep getting shot by the Tikimon in the middle. So you sort of have to move anti-clockwise past it so that it will do a full rotation before it sees you again. But again, co-op runs, it's not that big of an issue. So now we're coming into, again, another dash level. This level is a real pain in the ass. So the strat I believe they're going to do here is try and destroy that barrel in the middle, or an AI will drive into it. Because there's one barrel that is in Bensa's way. Because Bensa wants to obviously do this perfect circle where he just follows the center as close as possible, cut the tightest line. But a barrel spawns right in the middle every single time. The barrels are always in the same spots. So he wants that barrel to pretty much be blown up immediately so that he can do his perfect lines. The power-up in this level is the most obnoxious, annoying thing in any of the levels, because what it does is it sends a shockwave around the player who uses it, and then any other player who comes in contact just gets sent flying across the arena. So it's really important that these guys manage to pick one up and then hold on to them so that the AI can't pick a power up and just pick on you relentlessly, pretty much.
Yeah, same as the previous ones. I can also just get rid of them by having them use it on me instead.
Yeah, so Paul can try and bait them and fall off. The AI really don't know what they're doing on this challenge, especially. They just sort of float about, hitting every barrel, falling off the edge. They're just really stupid, in all honesty. The little blobs that walk around the middle as well, they spawn consistently, but you can take a tight enough line that they won't actually hit you. So we're seeing here, Paul got the better line at the start, and he got the Wumper, so he's going to be the one who finishes this round, and Bensa's going to be player 2, who just sits out of the way, getting power-ups, and just not really causing trouble for the AI, but just not causing trouble, trying to cause the least amount of trouble for Paul so that he can finish perfect laps. So yeah, 47 is pretty good. You want to sort of aim in that region. What's the best lap you can get, Bensa? I always forget.
Well, basically we get a 52.
Okay, so 52 is optimal. I believe if you get a lot of Wumper, you can get like a 52, but on average, if you sort of just get normal laps where you don't get too much Wumper and you just sort of steadily go around the circle, you're going to be in sort of the 40, 47 range, 48.
Yeah, 47 is the average you get if you just don't get hit by the AI or anything. Just drive alone here, do the perfect circle.
Yeah. What's really annoying about the guy in the middle is that he blocks your vision, so you can't see where you're going when you're behind them. If you turn too tightly when you're going around this circle, you can actually sort of turn inwards and get stuck on the middle. and then you end up going backwards, which is really annoying. I do it a lot because I haven't quite got that muscle memory to do a circle. So you can sometimes just get lost behind the alien toxic blob that spawns and get stuck.
I believe this is the last gem. Yeah, it is.
Yeah, so this is the last gem of the run. We've also done the last crystal of the run, so there's only this challenge. The next challenge, which is a new challenge type, so we've got one more challenge type to introduce, and then we've got the final boss coming up. So we've actually got not too many challenges left. Yeah, so same gimmick again here. These guys have a lap deficit, so they have to make up some laps that the AI have an advantage of. But again, the AI don't really improve. They're still just bouncing about, hitting everything they can. They're a little better than the trophy, but that's not really saying much. If you get really unlucky on a single-player speedrun, you can just keep getting knocked off by the AI. The AI can be really weird, where two AIs can just do really poorly and just be really annoying for the player, and then one AI can just go around in circles perfectly, and it becomes very difficult to win against that because the one AI just plays so much better than the other ones. But yeah, thankfully you can. The main thing with a co-op speedrun, which makes it a bit more marathon safe as well, is that it's a lot more consistent with the challenges because you can reduce the difficulty by playing together.
Championship time.
So this is another auto-scroller. So the final challenge type that they introduce is Medieval Madness.
Oh, Mayhem, I don't remember.
Every single medieval level is different, but it's on the same premise that you have to score points by some way. So the way to score points on this one is get balloons of your corresponding color. Again, it's really difficult to lose this challenge, so I believe it's sort of a 1v1 between Paul and Bensagram who can get as many points as they can.
Yeah, this is a true championship.
Yeah,
the only fun part about the game.
So
Jesus.
the gloves have come off and they're actually playing against each other because it's such an easy challenge that they don't need to work together. They're just going to work against each other and try and win themselves. Oh, so there's some fitting music in the background. I don't know how well the mic picks that up, but this is a serious business right now. This is all work. This is what we've been waiting for. That's why we do these speedruns. A couple of power-ups that you can get in this run, or in this level, from the crates. One of them is blue shoes, which they don't speed you up, but they make it so that the spinning platform in the middle has no effect on you. So you can actually stand still and you won't move with the platform and you can just walk freely. It doesn't really help you in all honesty, because much like Snow Bash, which we did before, if you do lots of jumps, you can actually ignore the rotation of the wheel and just keep jumping everywhere. So it's not really an issue trying to maneuver around this platform. The other power-up is a Hoover, or a vacuum cleaner, if we're not pushing brands on people. So keep calm and Hoover Snatey. And pretty much a Hoover sucks in balloons of your color, so it's really powerful and it's kind of overpowered in all honesty. Because the only way that you can lose that Hoover is if an AI decides to kick you. There's a really cool thing where if you're stunned when you pick up an item, the AI have this thing coded into them where it's like, oh, the player just got stunned with that item, so I don't need to hit them again. So they will ignore you and you can just farm points because they've already hit you. And you kept the power up so that you can just keep getting even more points and they'll just carry on playing normally. So that's also a thing that can happen. There's an interesting bug on this challenge, which is an NTSC-U exclusive. They patched it for the PAL and NTSC-J versions, which obviously, like most games, the American version was the first release of the version, and then they fixed some of the bugs for the Japanese and PAL versions. But the bug in the Jam challenge on this game is that it's accidentally coded as a 2v2 challenge. So when you play this game single player, the Jam is actually a 2v2 challenge. However, none of the AI are programmed to work together. So Bensa, I think, did Bensa win the first one as well? Yeah. So Bensa won the Ring Ding challenge. So Paul can only play for dignity now.
Yeah, I don't need to move. He needs to collect all the points.
Yeah.
The 2P1C.
Don't touch my dick.
It's too bad. How do you even do this? Okay, hold on.
Yeah, this is the bit where they lose the challenge because they're not they're messing about.
I'm doing my best, okay. Trying to not touch dicks.
The challenge is so easy that it should be pretty safe to win it.
If he needs my help, I'll just come in. Like the last 20 seconds. Or
I like
last
this
30.
1P2C. I mean, the AI are beating both of you, so maybe step in.
Like, there are no yellow balloons anyway, so why am I controlling 2 of them?
Okay, let's not lose this. We're in PB pace, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, this has actually been a pretty decent run. Yeah, another thing we haven't mentioned is the black balloons. So the black balloons have 3 different effects. It's completely random. They can either turn all the balloons into your color, which is the effect we want in a speedrun, because obviously that's the most beneficial to you. There are the 2 other effects. One of them changes the rotation of the arena, so the arena just starts spinning the other way. It makes that fart noise as well, and then the arena just like changes direction. And then the third effect the balloons can have, it destroys all the balloons apart from your color. So it is beneficial, but you don't really gain points. It just stops the other players scoring points. So yeah, a pretty safe challenge, but I don't trust these guys messing about all the time because they've lost challenges doing that way.
What are we doing, Oxide 2?
Yeah, Oxide 2.
Okay.
If we get Oxide 2, this actually might world record.
Ooh,
really nice.
world record pace.
Because I really do not want to play this category
do
ever
Oxide
again.
Ride or?
I can do.
Okay.
So the Oxide Ride, this is a pretty much Paul's just gonna die here. He's just gonna death abuse immediately. It doesn't matter. Paul doesn't need to be alive for this challenge. So Benza has a specific damage abuse route because what he wants to do is take enough damage because, like we mentioned before with the Komodo Joe fight, the Komodo Joe and Komodo Mo fight, the Big Bad Fox boss fight, is that he's going to death abuse to make the Oxide challenge easier. Oxide challenge is notoriously difficult. I don't even think anyone's done Oxide 0 in a speedrun before. I've not even seen anyone complete Oxide 0. So Oxide 0 is effectively not death abusing a single time and then just going straight into Oxide and beating him on this second phase of the challenge. But because it's also really slow, even if you do win that challenge, it's incredibly slow because Oxide plays so well that you're sat here for ages trying to just fight him off the entire time. So it's just quicker to reduce the amount of health going into this fight so that Benza can death abuse. And obviously with Pull dying as well, Pull doesn't need to death abuse because he's already dead entering this challenge. So these guys are going to death abuse a second time because every single time they death abuse, the boss gets easier. So this is a weird ballistics boss fight. Every single ball that is scored against them reduces both of their health. So they have a shared pool in that regard, but they also have individual health pools, which missiles, if they hit them, will target each player separately. There's also Red Bulls, which, mentioned before, they immediately kill you. If you don't do the Sky Balls Crystal challenge, you don't actually know what the Red Bulls do entering this. You're supposed to do every challenge once to understand the boss. But if you don't, then the Red Bull immediately kills you, and you have no way of knowing that. So they're going to actually play properly now. So Oxide should hopefully be easy enough so that they can complete this fast and, again, hopefully not lose. So again, they have to share the same area, and it can be a bit more claustrophobic. Trying to avoid missiles especially gets quite difficult. So even though they cover more area, they have to work together on dodging missiles and obviously shooting as many shots into Oxide's goal and dodging Red Bulls. But Oxide plays still, even though they've death abused twice, nice. Oxide plays really well here, and they're getting unlucky with these missiles. Oh, so now, Paul's unfortunately died, so it's a 1v1 with Bensagram. He can still claw this back, although it's obviously playing on his own. He has that disadvantage that he doesn't have more space, so it's harder to deflect the balls.
I'm not sure if I should death abuse or not.
You can do it, although it's going to be really difficult, I think, at this point.
Because Oxide's not letting anything in.
I'm going to death abuse on the Red Wall, I guess.
Yeah.
Sometimes Oxide can just play really well to the point where he doesn't even let any in, even on like this difficulty. So he's easier. This is an easier version of Oxide, and he's not letting anything in. So Ben's just going to death abuse.
Yeah.
Got really unlucky on that one.
That could have been world record if that was the Oxide T, but unfortunately not.
It just depends on the guy's mood.
Yeah. Yeah, he can. Sometimes Oxide can just tank shots at the start as well and just play really poorly, and then like he'll have a handful of shots left, and he just doesn't let anything in. So Oxide's difficulty literally can just change during the fight, and he just like decides to play better.
Nice.
And sometimes he just does that, where a ball is literally going into his goal, and he just deflects it out. So it's really difficult, the challenges, and a lot of the runs just unfortunately can die here. I think the world record gets a really good Oxide, which again, getting the difficult challenge as well makes it harder to beat that run.
I mean, this one isn't any good either, so...
Yeah, this outside is not good. It's not letting too much in.
Yeah, even though these guys aren't letting too many in themselves, Oxide is just fighting back a lot again, so they really have their work cut out trying to score against him. Because usually Oxide at this point is easy enough that you can win without too much effort, but he's just, for some reason, he just decides he's going to play really well. Oh, that's really unfortunate. It's still winnable. Winnable. But those Red Bulls can be really annoying because they can block you from deflecting shots from your goal. Oh, it's only... Oxide has 2 shots left.
Yeah.
These balls are really annoying right now.
Please, David.
Oh, it's 1 hit v 1 hit. This could be it.
No,
Oh, that was really unlucky.
Thanks.
The ball just literally bounced off, and then like a ball you couldn't have deflected just bounced into your goal because of a deflection.
You can't react to that really, so...
Yeah, well, you'd have to pause buffer to react that quickly, so that was really unfortunate again. Oxide can just, again, his difficulty is just sometimes so random that you can't even win
So, yeah,
when you're making him easier.
This is what the speedrun mostly comes down to, just Oxide.
Yeah.
This is where you can lose most of your time.
Yeah, now he's letting everything
Yeah.
go.
Yeah. Because his difficulty is decreasing, but sometimes he can just tank shots. Well, that was a really risky Red Bull, actually, but lucky he managed to avoid it.
They're putting them here.
This sucks.
Yeah, if you ever watch speedruns of this in like 2013, we used to death abuse 6 times.
Okay, 1 hit. There you go.
There you go, time.
That's a PB at least, I guess. But
Probably.
So what's world record? 142?
142, 47 seconds or something like that.
Yeah, so it would have been world record if they got lucky with Oxide. So that was really unfortunate, but still a pretty good run overall. I think we only had 1 fail elsewhere, 1 or 2 fails elsewhere.
Few fails. Hello.
Hello. Can you show off memory manipulation?
We can show off memory manipulation.
Yes.
So do that.
We're gonna show off this first. Tiebreaker.
Tiebreaker.
Yeah, so because they've played, one person's playing a good character and one person's playing an evil character, it comes to a head-to-head as to which side actually ultimately wins. So it's a 1v1 between good and bad. If evil win, then Uka has control of all the power crystals and he will just destroy all life. If good wins, then Aku will lock away the power crystals and banish Uka to the Shadow Realm or something. I believe Crash Bash is canon because it really doesn't follow any of the plot of the previous games. So pretty much the fate of the entire galaxy is in the hands of Paul right now.
I got it first.
So
There's 3 rounds.
Yeah, it's a first to 3, so there's still Pence needs to win 2 more rounds.
Nice.
Nice.
Yeah, this is very luck dependent as well, and who gets good spawns. Well, that's a good hit by Benz. It's something that you can hit with Tiny and Kong. You can hit them when he carries a box, and he will drop the box on himself. Oof. 2-0 to Benza. He only needs to win 1 more. So Paul is on the back foot here. He needs to win 3 rounds still. But some of the tech here, obviously, when you throw a crate, you lose the ability to move for a second. So that's also really, really important that you don't throw crates too often. You need to time when you throw them. If you throw crates and they hit each other in meta, they just blow each other up. Yeah, sometimes you want to get in close with the opponent so they can't react to you. Oh, Bouncer's managed to slowly claw this one back. Still quite even, though. Ooh, okay. 2-1. So Paul can bring this back still. You can have a more even start. Okay. Yeah, sometimes you can just kick boxes and just things happen. Oh, Paul's only one hit. He only needs to be kicked and he'll die. Unless he can get a Wumper crate, Wumper fruit. Ooh.
Yeah.
3-1 to Bensa.
You can't really
GGs.
pick up crates because then you die immediately.
Yeah. So now, basically, Uka is just going to destroy your life with the power crystals and rule the universe or something.
Okay, so now we're gonna show memory manipulation, which will be after these credits.
Is it
So
quicker
grab a
to
drink or something.
Is it quick to reset the console?
Yes.
Yes.
We can
Uh,
just restart the console.
Do we don't need FPS,
The
do we?
credits were played either way, so.
Oh my god,
You
this
can do it.
console is difficult.
We're an hour ahead of schedule. Just
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So
time.
apparently we're an hour ahead of the schedule, so we could even do a run, I guess. But we're not doing
I'd
that.
rather
yeah.
not know.
So, yeah, fast 6 speed. We never get to see that in the
Does
marathon.
anybody even have the cheats open?
No.
Oh, I can get them
Second.
open.
Yeah,
Okay.
please.
So, memory manipulation is basically, it's accessing, is it like arbitrary code? I don't remember. Well, pretty much managing to access the code in the game and then alter some values so that we can get some cool effects going on. So let me see if I can
I
find...
mean, it's in the name. It's memory manipulation.
Yes. So there is a thread on speedrun.com/crashbash if you're interested in learning how to do memory manipulation. Where is it? There's literally a thread called memory manipulation, yet people still make new threads saying, how do I do memory manipulation? Can you believe it?
It might be in guides.
I hope this memory card doesn't have any save files.
Oh yeah, you made a guide for it.
Yeah.
It doesn't.
So we
Okay.
just need...
No, I didn't know. I made a.
Oh, that's the...
Yeah, it's for how to set it up.
There's an image, isn't there?
Yeah.
I can do it solo, I guess. Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Is there a... Is that the one you want? The Nitros code?
Yeah. All
Yeah.
in one.
So,
So,
Benson will need the... do you wanna hold it?
so here, you just go out of bounds by pressing left and down at the same time.
Yeah.
Whoa, we're out of bounds. And now I need the inputs.
Yeah, so Benson's just going to do a sequence of direction inputs where he's pretty much just changing the, changing the memory of the game. So he needs to be really precise. If he does a single input wrong, he could either cause the game to crash or he will get the wrong effects.
I'm not sure what I pressed down.
We can keep going and then
Yeah.
we'll see what happens.
We got an hour anyway, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Well, the game's alive.
Yeah, the game didn't crash, which is usually a good thing. So there is a code that we use for speedruns, which again is on the forums, which pretty much allows us to skip every challenge. Because if he's put it in right, has he put it in right?
No.
Didn't I?
I mean, obviously not.
No.
Okay. I guess I can do it again because the game didn't crash.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, if the game didn't crash, I'm good. Something funny might have happened, but I don't know of.
Yeah, you can get graphical bugs, you can get all sorts of different effects, but the one we're looking for is especially useful for a speedrun. Hopefully we can put the code in right.
Also, it's not so much a code as it's like actually manipulating the memory using in-game stuff. Whoa.
Yeah.
Okay, that was it. It's like a 30 input code or something. Sometimes you can get confused with it.
Yeah, we've had to find a code just from experimenting.
Yeah.
Oh, so
You can see there are no numbers here, first of all.
yeah. So we're gonna wait a
I
second.
can just do this, pause the game. And
We should already be on, so.
It should already be up. There we go.
There it
There
is.
you go.
So a menu just pops up, and that menu only shows up if the player has died during the minigame. Because the idea is that it's like, oh, the player's died, so we'll just let you end the round, and then it will pick whoever's winning, and that person will win. So Benza can pretty much abuse this, and he can just win every single challenge. Because the game sees Benza as the winning player. It decides player 1 is the one who's winning. and it allows that player to just immediately skip through these challenges. So there's also a cool tech because you can pause here, and then if Bensa times it right, he will exit and he will save. I think it's like a few seconds each time.
I think you're supposed to get the item first.
Oh,
I think,
I think I was supposed to. Wait, I don't know. Whatever.
Yeah.
You can do
So
that.
you can actually just quit, and you can get the item awarded to you.
Gonna do super speed.
Super speed. I hope my game doesn't crash because I have so many.
Yeah, we've got some codes from that have been found. I believe it was Bensagram initially found the actual memory manipulation, but then there's some codes that people have sort of done some research on. Beta also found like one of the codes we used in speedrunning.
It's the second one.
Okay.
So yeah, we found the code we used for speedrunning. I think Nitrovsky, took the codes that we found and put them into like one code that does all the effects we need for a speedrun. There's some extra ones that we can do here.
Oh,
Oh,
yeah.
there we go. The mill starts disappearing. So as long as this level doesn't crash when we enter it. Okay, it's good so far.
Yeah, this one's the best one.
There you go. So things just starting all over the place, then you can just win. So again, it sees Bensa as the winning player, so it decides that he gets to win every single challenge. So obviously in a speedrun, you just go into every single challenge and then immediately win. But the AI don't know what they're doing. Coco doesn't even want to move. Oh, actually decided Coco won that one. If you take, it usually decides the person who has the most health is the winner. So I'm not sure if Bensa took damage out or what
I took a bit
happened.
of damage.
Yeah.
It's really hard to control your character in here.
Yeah, the damage meters don't actually
I
show.
can't move. I'm stuck. Okay, there we go.
Yeah, he would need to jump to move sometimes, which means forcing victory, and that sucks.
Yeah. But yeah, sometimes the AI just give up. They don't know what they're doing. I think there is a code that kills AI as well. It just sets the AI's initiative to like 0 and they just don't do anything.
Trying to win this. Oh, hell yeah. Pretty hard to tell because I cannot see my own health.
Yeah, the health bars, they're still working, but you can't visually see how much damage you've taken.
Do you want to try 1 second round?
Yeah, I can do that as well. Oh.
See how many codes we can put in before the game crashes.
Yeah, if you just go into the menu and just mash buttons, the game will probably just crash when you come out of it. There's also a lot of cool corruptions you can do with this game if you use the actual corrupting tools for corrupting the actual ROM itself, which we haven't really done much in a few years now, but there's definitely some cool stuff you can do with this game. It is very interesting, interestingly made. But again, all these codes, we're just on the speedrun.com forum, so if you do want to ever do this yourself or play about with the codes, then these are all accessible. You can do them at your heart's desire. It's also worth noting this is only possible on NTSCU. Is it possible on PAL?
No, the codes don't work for some reason.
Okay, so this is only possible on the
What
American
challenges
version.
does this work again?
It's on all of them.
Polars. Okay.
Polars, Pogos. Anyway.
So yeah, this is only possible on NTSCU. It's not possible on J because you can't even go out of bounds on the menu, and PAL, the codes just don't work apparently. I've not tried it myself, but I'll take your word for it. There you go. So now it's impossible to win these rounds because they just last 1 second and every round's a tie.
I think I should go the Jungle Bash because I can actually win, I think. Or
Maybe.
Yeah.
let's go the Pogo Painter. Let's see.
Some challenges as well, they count down. So the other part of the code, which we're not really seeing, the actual code we use for speedruns, on these. Yeah, there we go. So now it's impossible to just play any level. But there is a code where once you hit 30 seconds, it jumps, instead of going to a minute, it jumps down to 5 seconds. So each round is 35 seconds. So it makes auto-scrollers quicker because you can't auto-win an auto-scroller. It doesn't let you do that one.
Now I'll just invent my own code that will skip me the oxide, hopefully.
Yeah, if someone wants to find a code that just skips you to the end of the game, so we don't actually have this like weird category, and then...
I'm keeping track of the inputs. So we
Oh,
know
it didn't
this is-
crash.
Oh,
I'm trying to crash the game. That's the main goal
Yeah.
here. Oh.
I got that.
Yeah, you can mash buttons, but sometimes you just get stuck on a bit of code that won't do anything, so... We might also find something new, but we'll never know. Maybe if you enter a challenge, it might crash.
Probably, yeah.
Go play some game.
Okay.
Oh, you fixed the graphic glitch, though.
Somehow.
Fix the game code.
You've uncorrupted the code. You did it.
The game still works. I don't
Remade
care.
Bash.
I can't break the game. Yeah, it works. Didn't skip the Oxide.
Oh. Yeah, the old code that we used to have did some graphical glitches in Desert Fox, and it was also it was a low possible chance that it could just crash because the game just is so corrupted that it's like too much to load. I'm just gonna give up and crash. So that was
Pretty sure
possible.
this works. If you just match one.
Oh,
direction.
just one direction, yeah. I think you have to go a certain direction on the start of each code anyway. You can't just mash.
Do anything you want.
'Cause I think if you go another direction, I think it just locks you into somewhere you can't do anything with, maybe.
I think it was up, maybe. How do you get out of this?
Start.
Oh, I see.
Oh, we can't even crash the game. This is pretty good.
It's too hard.
Usually it happens like immediately.
It's
when
fine,
you
we got like 40 minutes.
Yeah, I think if you've already put other codes in, it maybe
Yeah.
makes it harder. I don't know.
Probably. Well,
You're not crashing the game. It should be so fucking easy.
it should be. Anyway, I don't think
we can just yeah.
yeah.
We can cut it here. I think we're done. I'll give my shout outs to Sibang.
Smash left or something.
Okay, left.
Shout out to Sibang. And if Sage is here, shout outs to him. He's a god.
Yeah.
He said he will be here, but I'm not sure. I'll go.
Yeah, Sage being the world record holder for this game before everyone got like a console, and
He had it for like
People were
5
trying
years.
to beat
yeah,
the time for like 4 years.
yeah.
And they couldn't do it.
I said in the background, people tried to be this time for 4 years, but couldn't do it.
Yeah, it's worth mentioning FDS literally saves like minutes over standard disk speed, and Sage's old world record was on emulator, and just no one could beat it even with like minute advantage with faster loads. That's how good it was for its time. But he never played the game after it.
Yeah,
Still
I need to do a run with him.
You could do this, actually.
If he's here, I'll do a run with him. Yeah.
I want to try to get rid of the music.
Oh, we're not on anymore.
Okay.
He's-
they
Yavlin's
already
kicked us
cut
off.
Yeah, good.
it. We haven't been on the screen for a while.
Good. We're still on mic, though, so that's fine.
I guess.
Local
Hello.
recording.